coming once and for all. You makes the front page, and then you is major news. Tomorrow they'll see what we are, and sure as a star, we ain't come this far to lose.
Newsies revolves around a group of teenage orphan boys who live in New York and sell newspapers. These boys are called Newsies. They work together to sell the papers in their neighborhood, but there are groups of Newsies in all of the neighborhoods. The leader of the Newsies is Jack Kelly, famous for his criminal history when he stole clothing and food once to give to orphans at the Refuge, which is an orphanage where the young boys are severely mistreated. Jack and his best friend Crutchy live with the other Newsies on the streets. They meet two brothers, Davy and Les, who join the Newsies. One morning, they discover that Pulitzer, the owner of the newspaper they sell, has raised the price per newspaper, forcing the Newsies to have to sell more to make the amount of money they need to survive. Outraged, the Newsies go on strike because they heard it worked for other workers in New York. During their protest, the Newsies are confronted by the police and many are beaten. Crutchy is taken to the Refuge. So the boys are very sad until they hear that Catherine Plummer, a love interest of Jack and a struggling reporter, wrote an article about the strike that made the front page. Jack is confronted by Pulitzer and the Refuge owner Snyder, where he learns that Catherine is Pulitzer's daughter. They make a deal with him. If he calls off the strike, they will clear his criminal charges and pay for him to leave New York. The Newsies refuse to go along with Jack in this deal, so all of them, including Catherine, secretly print their own newspaper and send to Governor Roosevelt. Roosevelt shows up and with Jack convinces Pulitzer to buy back all unsold papers at the end of each day. Then Crutchy is freed from the Refuge. The refugees sit down, Snyder is arrested, and the strike is over. The plot of Newsies is based off a real event called the Newsboys' Strike of 1899, which also ended with a similar compromise. A theme I recognized was class and power. Pulitzer, who owns the newspaper, has the most power, and he is wealthy and high class. He uses his power to make more money by mistreating the Newsies. However, this musical challenges this idea of the wealthy having power over the lower working class. The Newsies fight for their rights so that they will be treated fairly, and in the end they win, showing that they too have power. Another theme is child labor and workers' rights. Obviously, the whole premise of the musical is about unions and the rights of workers. This is especially relevant because the Newsies were minors, and this incident, among many others, would lead to child labor laws. This time in America, there were a lot of changes about workers and factories and the creation of unions. A third theme that I recognized was women in the workplace. Catherine struggled to be an accepted reporter because the majority of reporters were men and were more respected. She works hard and earns herself a good reputation, and she begins to be respected. This was set in a time when more women began to take traditionally male jobs. During this time, women were not well accepted in the working world, so Catherine's confidence and determination to succeed was important. The composer for Newsies is Alan Menken. He did the music for the original film and the musical production. He has done music for many major Disney movies and musicals, including Aladdin, Pocahontas, Little Mermaid, Little Shop of Horrors, Sister Act, A Christmas Carol, and many more. He has won 8 Academy Awards, 7 Golden Globe Awards, 11 Grammys, and 1 Tony Award. He was born and raised in New York, which is his connection to Newsies, which is set entirely in New York. He lived in New York his whole life, so he understands the city and the culture. I really enjoyed watching Newsies. The energy of the show was what really made me like it. The music and dancing is uplifting and fast-paced. I found the dancing especially good because it was a mix of ballet and tap. This is the first time I had seen anything like that because I watched this before we got to West Side Story. I also liked how they used the props and sets during the dances. For example, at one point they tap dance on a newspaper, moving the paper around under their feet and eventually throwing it into the audience. The storyline itself is really inspiring, so combining that with the music, it really makes the audience root for the Newsies. I also liked how it ends so well, leaving you happy and satisfied with the happy ending. The cast was extremely talented. Even if I could sing or dance, I don't see how I could do both at the same time for so long. I would definitely recommend seeing Newsies.